Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तमश्लोके निरुक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं Rama Rama Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You're breaking very badly, Prabhuji.
Is it? पता नहीं why so bad. I'll just change the net.
Now it is better. I don't know how.
Better?
Yes, Prabhuji, now it's better.
Yeah. Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, while describing all various topics, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Aharyat Brahmano Vidu, describing about lifetime of Brahma. At the same time, Bhagavad Gita is also describing the food habits as well, right? So here we see one very important aspect of in this particular chapter. So we continue. This chapter is divided into 8 sections. So text 1 to 4 was inquiry about Lord Varaha. Then 5-7 Maya congratulated. 8-15 Diti approaches Kaśyapa Muni at a wrong time. 16 to 21 Kaśyapa glorifies. 20 to 29 Kaśyapa reasons for postponed union. 30 to 36 Diti intends. 47-43 Kaśyapa's Diti's requests. 44 to 51 speaks about his grand, that is Prahlāda Mahārāja. So what happened is Kaśyapa, who is one of the powerful Prajapati, he is one of the wife Diti. She is not having any sons.
Hare Krishna, again it is breaking. Voice is continuing to break.
Okay. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. So Diti, very sad that she doesn't have any progeny, although she is wife of one of the great Prajapati. And therefore she approaches Diti, who is extremely beautiful. She approaches her husband Kaśyapa for child and approaches at the wrong time. And Kaśyapa, extremely powerful personality, he also gives in to Diti that time. He says that you are approaching me, but there is the responsibility is yours. And then this is then he explains that because of approaching at a wrong time, it would lead to something very disastrous result, and that is birth of Hiraṇyākṣa and Kaśyapa. And Diti depends for her activities. And she says, please give benediction. And then he says, but your grandson will be a great personality. He will be born as Prahlāda Mahārāja. So very interesting chapter. Take one. Sri Shukavacha Kausharaviно Pavarnitam Katha Karana Sukaratmanah Punaspacha Tamutyanjarir Nachati Truto Vidurudrutabratah.
Sukadeva Goswami said, after hearing from the great sage Maitreya about the Lord's incarnation as Varaha, Vidura, who had taken a vow, begged him with folded hands to please narrate further transcendental activities of the Lord, since he, Vidura, did not yet feel satisfied. Hare Krishna.
Vidura, he folded his hands and he was asking, please describe more. Text 2. Vidura Uvacha Tenaiva Munistre Harinam Yajnamurtina Adidaityo Hiraṇyākṣo Ata iti Anushramam.
Translation. Sri Vidura said, O chief amongst the great sages, I have heard by disciplic succession that Hiraṇyākṣa, the original demon, was slain by the same form of sacrifices, the personality of Godhead, Lord Boar, purport. As referred to previously, the Boar incarnation was manifested in 2 millenniums, namely Swayambhu and Chaksa. In both millenniums, there was a boar incarnation of the Lord, but in the Swayambhu millennium, he lifted the earth from within the water of the universe, whereas in the Chaksa millennium, he killed the first demon, Hiraṇyākṣa. In the Swayambhu millennium, he assumed the color white, and in the Chaksa millennium, he assumed the color red. Vidura had already heard about one of them, and he proposed to hear about the other. The two different boar incarnations described are the one supreme personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Vidura said, O Munishreshta, Tenaiva Munishreshta, Harina Yajnamurtina. That Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Yajnamurti, the form of all the sacrifices, I have heard in the disciplic succession that he killed Adi Daitya Hiraṇyākṣa. And you are not describing anything about Hiraṇyākṣa. So can you describe me more about this? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, generally people think of there is only one Varaha incarnation. But we have seen that there are two Varaha incarnations. One is the Swayambhu and the other is the Chakshusha. So in the Swayambhu millennium, Swayambhuva Kalpa, the Varaha incarnation was Shveta Varaha. Swayambhuva Shveses. And in the Chakshusha millennium, the Varaha was the Varaha. Right. And this Rakta Varaha, actually he was personality, this Hiraṇyākṣa. So he said that we have to hold Hiraṇyākṣa. So he's explaining about this pastime as well. So this will happen time to time in Bhagavatam, that because the subject matter is so vast, the speaker will try to amalgamate or speed forward certain things. Like in previous forward. But the rest is no, please wait. Please tell me what happened. Later we'll say same thing happening. There is a description where it says Brahmadando Duratya, that he would surpass Brahmadanda cursed by a Brahmana, Ambarish Maharaj. And then Parishit Maharaj said, wait, Shukadeva Goswami, nobody can cross the curse of Brahmana. How could Ambarish Maharaj cross the curse of Brahmana? So then they elaborate the story that will come later. Similarly, Brahma Vimohan Lila. Okay. So this is the eagerness of the hearer that empowers the speaker. So here Vidura is extremely eager. With folded hands, he is saying, please explain me. I am not satisfied. Satisfied in the sense, I am not tired of hearing questions about the Supreme Lord.
What was the reason O Brahmana, for the fight between the demon king and the Lord Boar while the Lord was lifting the earth as his pastime?
So he's asking that I heard that Daityaraj, Adi Daitya, Hiraṇyākṣa was killed by the Yagyamurti Varaha. But what was Yagyamurti Varahadev? He was lifting the earth, but why did Hiraṇyākṣa fight with him? So, text 4. Shraddhadhanaya bhaktaya bruhitam janmad vistaram urshena trapyati manaha param kautuhalam hime. Translation.
My mind has become very inquisitive, and therefore I am not satisfied with hearing the narration of the Lord's appearance. Please therefore speak more and more to a devotee who is faithful. Purport. One who is actually faithful and inquisitive is qualified to hear the transcendental pastimes of the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vidura was a suitable candidate to receive such transcendental message.
Yeah. So Vidura says, "O great sage, natrupyanti. I am not tired of hearing these pastimes. In fact, my mind, manah parah kautuhalam. In fact, my mind has become very, very inquisitive, and I am not satisfied by hearing the narration. So, satisfied in the sense is I am not tired of hearing the narrations. I'm more and more eager. Please speak to me more and more to a devotee who is faithful." In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that one who is actually faithful and inquisitive is qualified for the transcendental pastimes of the Lord's appearance and disappearance. And Vidura was just a table candidate. So this is the beauty of the spiritual narrations. To the degree one takes interest in those nations, to the degree one is hearing as if hearing for the first time, to the degree the narrations also appear fresh, more and more. This is about anything spiritual. Chanting the holy names, we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. To the degree we chant with that eagerness, to the degree we chant with the newness, to the degree the chanting also reveals newer rasas while chanting the holy names. Same is true with the parts of Srimad Bhagavatam or Gita. Now we see Maitreya congratulating Vidura for having such a devotional attitude. 5 to 7 says. Maitreya vacha Vishatanim. Translation.
The great sage Maitreya said, O warrior, the inquiry made by you is just befitting a devotee because it concerns the incarnation of the personality of Godhead. He is the source of liberation from the chain of birth and death for all those who are otherwise destined to die. Therefore, the great sage Maitreya addressed Vidura as a warrior not only because Vidura belonged to the Kuru family, but because he was anxious to hear about the chivalrous activities of the Lord in his incarnations of Varaha and Nrsimha. Because the inquiries concerned the Lord, they were perfectly befitting a devotee. A devotee has no taste for hearing anything mundane. There are many topics of mundane warfare, but a devotee is not inclined to hear them. The topics of the warfare in which the Lord engages do not concern the war of death, but the war against the chain of Maya, which obliges one to accept repeated birth and death. In other words, one who takes delight in hearing the war topics of the Lords is relieved from the chains of birth and death. Foolish people are suspicious of Krishna's taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra, not knowing that his taking part ensured liberation for all who were present on the battlefield. It is said by Bhishmadeva that all who were present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual existences after death. Therefore, hearing the war topics of the Lord is as good as any other devotional service.
My dear Vidura, sadhu means wonderful. Veera, oh great, powerful warrior. Tvaya Prishtam Avatara Katha Hare. You have inquired about the Avatara Katha, about the Supreme Lord. Yatvam Prichasi Martyanam Mrityupasha Vishatanim. That Mrityupash, one who is bound by the chain of the birth and death, these topics are actually the source of liberation for one who is bound by the source of birth and death. The purport says that Sri Maitreya addressed Vidura as warrior, Veer. Why warrior? Because not only Vidura belonged to the dynasty, he was very anxious to hear the Virya pastime of the Supreme Lord. Right. And this is the perfect inquiry for a devotee. The perfectly befitting a devotee. Prabhupada says a devotee has no taste in hearing anything mundane. Or we should have the reducing taste for hearing the mundane topics. It is very difficult in the beginning to give up the taste of mundane topics, but one has to evolve oneself slowly. And then, for example, is India-Pakistan match, right? So devotee will think, if I sit for the whole day match, it is like a colossal waste of 8-10 hours. Not only waste of 10 hours, there will be bombardment, so many advertisement. It will cost at least 500 rupees extra, which because the so many advertisement will be bombarded me. So at the same, we are not completely pure that we have like transcended the world, other things. So one can make adjustment. Instead of the 8 hours of the one flow, I will maybe I will just watch highlights for say 5-6 minutes, something like that, and that I can say my 6-7 hours, right? So Prabhupada says that devotee has no taste hearing anything. Many topics often warfare, but the devotee is not inclined to hear about them. But the topics of the war, where the Supreme Lord is present, devotee is highly interested. And because he is interested in hearing the topics of war, when Krishna is present, devotee also called as Veera. Here, therefore it is said, so Veera Tvaya Aksham. Prabhupada says sometimes English people, they doubt whether just taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra. But God not only took part in the battle of Kurukshetra, he also awarded liberation to those who were killed. Therefore, hearing the war topics of the Lord is as good as any other devotional service. Especially it is very pleasing to hear, very entertaining to hear about the. But along with entertainment is purification of the also, because center there is Supreme Lord. Text.
By hearing these topics from the sage Narada, the son of King Uttanapad, Dhruva was enlightened regarding the personality of Godhead, and he ascended to the abode of the Lord, placing his feet over the head of death. Purport. While quitting his body, Maharaj Dhruva, the son of King Uttanapad, was attended by the personalities like Sunanda and others, who received him in the kingdom of God. He left this world at an early age as a young boy, although he had attained the throne of his father and had several children of his own. Because he was due to quit this world, death was waiting for him. He did not care for death, however, and even with his present body, he boarded a spiritual airplane and went directly to the planet of Vishnu because of his association with the great sage Narada, who had spoken to him the narration of the pastimes of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So this is the glorification of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. By hearing these topics of Varahadev, killing of Hiraṇyākṣa, and these topics from Narada Muni, the great personality, who is a son of Uttanapad, Dhruva was enlightened regarding Lord Hari, and then he went back home, back to Godhead, by placing his feet over the head of the death. So this is a very powerful statement. And this will come, we see the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. Read pastime of Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, the death personified came in front of Dhruva Maharaj. And the plane that came the spiritual realm. In the quote, Srila Prabhupada says that while quitting his body, Dhruva Maharaj was attended by the great personalities like Sunanda others. And Dhruva, the character of Dhruva, become the next canto. Although he, in a way, left early age, of course, he had his own children, but still, that was not a age. But he ascended the Vaikuntha plane in the present body, and thus he defeated the death personified. Okay, and this all was possible simply by hearing pastime of Hiraṇyākṣa being killed by the Supreme Lord Varaha. So this is the potency of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and therefore you are weak, O Vidura. Translation.
This history of the fight between the Lord as a boar and the demon Hiraṇyākṣa was heard by me in a year long ago, as it was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by the other demigods.
So now here, Maitreya Muni says, I heard this narration directly from Brahmaji. When Lord Brahma was describing these Deva Devena, the Deva Deva Brahma, when he was describing this to other Devata, Devanam Anupruchatam, when other Devatas were inquiring, this narration was narrated by Brahmaji, and I personally heard this. Text 8. Ditir Dakshayani Kshatri
Translation: Diti, daughter of Dakṣa, being afflicted with sex desire, begged the husband Kaśyapa, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. Hare Krishna.
So now the pastime of Hiraṇyākṣa and Varahadev begins here with Diti approaching Kaśyapa Muni. Diti Dakshayani. Diti is Diti Dakshayani, who is the daughter of Dakṣa Prajapati. Later we are going to see this. Kshaptaha, O Vidura, she approached the son of Marichim, Kaśyapam. Son of Marichi is Kaśyapa. So we have seen this, right? Lord Brahma's son is Marichi, and Marichi's son is Kaśyapa. And all their activities is Prajapati. They are supposed to inundate the world with Praja, so that the activity of the purpose of the universe will be fulfilled. So Diti approached Kaśyapa at a wrong time and desiring to beget a child. Patyama, for desire to have a child. Text 9. Ishangni jam payasa purusham yusham patim
The sun was setting, and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire. Purport: fire is considered to be the tongue of the Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and oblations of grains and clarified butter offered to the fire are thus accepted by him. That is the principle of all sacrifices, of which Lord Vishnu is the master. In other words, the satisfaction of the Lord Vishnu includes the satisfaction of all demigods and other living beings.
The sun was setting This is Sandhyayam. Sun was setting, and the sage was sitting in trance, offering oblations after performing his Sandhya, Trisandhya. He had performed the yajna and offered ingredients to the fire, where fire is considered as the mouth of Lord Vishnu. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the fire is considered as the tongue of Lord Vishnu, where the grains and the oblations are offered, they are directly accepted by the Supreme Lord. We know that yajnarthat karmana anyatra lokoyam karmana. That is the principle of all the sacrifices. Taram yajnatasam sarvalokeshwaram. And Supreme Lord is master of all demigods, and one satisfies the Supreme Lord. All other demigods, all other living beings are naturally satisfied. Kaśyapa was performing his yajna, and he not only satisfied all the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by satisfying the Supreme Lord, he also satisfied all the demigods and other living beings. This was the time he was sitting in trance. The time is evening. The sun was setting. This is Sandhyayam. And Diti approached him. Tiruvacha. Diti vacha. Eshamam krute vidvam. Rasam bhivamatanga.
In the place, the beautiful Diti expressed her desire, O learned one. Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. Purport. Beautiful Diti, seeing her husband absorbed in the trance, began to speak loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expressions. She frankly said that her whole body was distressed by sex desire because of her husband's presence. Just as a banana tree is troubled by a mad elephant, it was not natural for her to agitate her husband when he was in trance, but she could not control her strong sexual appetite. Her sex desire was like a mad elephant, and therefore it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desire.
Diti Ruvacha. Diti approached. The beautiful Diti, she began to address, O learned one, and she is speaking very loudly because he is sitting in a trance. And Prabhupada writes here because because Kaśyapa Muni was sitting in a trance, she did not attract her husband with bodily expressions, but by loud speech. Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing her forcibly as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. In the Prabhupada explains, beautiful Diti. So this will come. Diti was extremely beautiful. Later, this reference will come. His sons, Hiraṇyakaśipu, they are killed, and Diti becomes very angry. And again she appears her husband. And then Kaśyapa Muni, taking clue from the previous instance, he satisfies her desire, takes her in devotion service, asking her to do Humsavan Vrata. And that time also there is discussion of beauty of the. Okay, so he was extremely beautiful Diti, seeing her husband absorbed in trance, that her whole body was distressed by the desire, kama, and because her husband's friend, just like the banana tree is troubled mad. Now you can see how delicate banana tree is. It is mad, not just a mad elephant and troubles, you just shake the banana tree. Like that, desires at times may shake a person. Okay. And probably here, as a husband, it was the duty of her husband to protect her from the desire by satisfying the desire. So that we always say here that although we are talking of a big, huge philosophy, although talking of something which is Paramahansa Samhita, the application of philosophy has to be age appropriate and it has to be gradual. Right. Simply understanding I'm not the body, I'm the spirit soul, and the world is a temporary place. One is not done with the body, neither done with the world. Neither the intellectual standing, it will take a long time for jnana to be vijnana. Right. And in the meantime, one has to play one's role in Vara and Ashra very, very well. And therefore, in the activity of this is very personal thing to everybody's personal choices, but the point here is that the standard of the conjugal affairs in the house, they are the lowest of the two between husband and wife. The needs of husband or a wife, they have to be satisfied by the it is not that the one person is so advanced, not so interested, not any interested activity, which is Diti's her husband here. The other person becomes immoral and looks for satisfaction somewhere outside the boundary of one's grahastha ashram. Therefore, Prabhupada says here, desire was the mad elephant. Therefore, it was prime duty of her husband, no words, okay, to give protection by fulfilling desire. One should so advance that other person becomes immoral, who is married to you. Therefore, the standard for the activity between the two has the lowest of the two, right? And therefore, we see, of course, husband and wife will come together, they will perform devotional service together, and thus gradually they will raise the platform together. Then we will see when Kaśyapa Muni, when he systematically takes the wife, satisfying her desire, but making her a great devotee, and then they become the mother of the great demigods who are great devotees of the Lord, 49 Maruts. That passing will come in this canto later. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Shri Prabhupada Jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.